If you're following Dan John's Easy Strength and you are unsure about appropriate loading for the day, listen up. What's up, Internet? Coach Dennis here, and today I want to talk about proper loading for Easy Strength. And the idea I want to talk about is bar speed. So on Easy Strength, if you don't know what it is, basically you're doing the same 5 lifts every session, 5 to 6 days a week. Simple rules, no more than 10 reps. That is working sets. Of course, it's appropriate to do a few easy warm-up sets. No more than 10 reps. Usually it's a 2x5. Could be 5-3-2, 3-3-3, something along that lines. Of course, depending on the rep scheme, you can also modulate load. But the rule is never fail a rep, never even struggle. So what does that mean? Obviously, if you're somebody who takes that too literally, you could always work too light. Although I don't think that is going to be the intuition for most people, because most of us want to make progress. I think most people will go wrong by going too heavy. So what does it mean? People want me to give a percentage for this, right? But it really just depends. So I think the number one thing you need to pay attention to is bar speed. And I will say that the deadlift is probably the unique movement of any of the movements you could do easy strength with. And that's specifically just because you're dealing with loading the spine, right? And so let me give you an example of what I mean. If we were talking percentages with, for instance, the incline bench press, which I'm doing here in Easy Strength, I would likely be always underworking, because by the nature of Easy Strength, I'm already PRing in my working sets. And so what I did was just take Dan John's advice and just say, basically just start a little too light, use a weight where there's reps in reserve. And when that feels really light, add a little bit more. He would say add significantly more. He's a big fan of jump by at least 20%. But which I've kind of done. I kind of started with 135 and I'm now working at 185. But how do I know it's appropriate? It's all about bar speed, right? So when I'm doing these lifts, the bar 185 is now moving like 135 did. The bar speed is there. And how I ensure that I'm abiding by the rules is if I notice a bar speed slowing down, I don't go for the next rep. I rack it, right? So I was going to do a set of 5, bar speed slowed down a bit, I racked it. And then I just broke up the remaining reps and sets into smaller bite-sized chunks where the bar speed remained high. But if we're getting back to the deadlift, I was thinking about, I think an appropriate weight is a weight that you could clean, then plus 50 pounds, assuming you're relatively strong. I mean, if you're brand new, maybe it's just a weight that you can clean. Now, of course, whether or not you're proficient in cleaning does make a difference, but even like a high pull to the chest should be possible. And I think this is going to be a strategy I employ for the remaining weeks of Easy Strength to ensure that I'm working at an appropriate weight. So if I can hit a set of 5 cleans, and you can drop reset, that's fine. Then I will add 50 pounds to that for my set of 5 deadlifts. So I think I'm going to use the 5+5 clean plus deadlift technique going forward, just to ensure I'm not overdoing it. And if you're noticing that you're feeling really fatigued, feeling a little sore from the deadlifts on Easy Strength, it's likely you're going too heavy. Now, you might be concerned, well, I'm not going to PR, I'm not going to make progress. Guys, this is a high-frequency program. You're training the nervous system to be more efficient, and there's a magical thing that happens. You got to have a little faith in the process and trust the what the hell effect. Like I said in a previous video, I've not been putting that much mental energy into the curls, and just the other day, I randomly strict curled 135. That is the magic that's happening on the nervous system with Easy Strength. So don't be afraid to go too light with deadlift. Your competitive nature and desire to progress will ensure that you're eventually making the appropriate jumps. Now, what Dan John would say is just wait until the weight that you're using is just flying. When it's flying, then you know it's time to make a jump. Which is why I came up with the power clean hypothesis, because literally the weight is flying. So whether or not you actually want to implement power cleans is up to you, but kind of keep that mindset when you're selecting a weight for your deadlift. All right, cool. Now, with that said, what should you expect with easy strength? When should you expect PR? Now, Dan John says a lot of people will experience this at day 22. That's your 22nd session. But really, you should be doing this for about 60 sessions. Will the PR come during training? It very well may. For me, that's already happened with the incline press. It's starting to happen naturally with the bicep curls. It's definitely happening with the toes to bar. And I think the key there is that those are lifts that I'm not that great with to begin with. But I do have a history with the deadlift. So it would be a little bit of wishful thinking to just assume that I'm going to be showing up doing quote unquote easy sets of 2x5 at 450 pounds, which is roughly my lifetime PR. Again, I think the deadlift is unique in this aspect where on the Easy Strength program, you're going to be training sub-maximally for probably the entire program, which begs the question of when should you test your PR? And I would say at the very, very end of the program and potentially even weeks after, perhaps we would need to or want to set up some sort of organized peaking program, which I'll talk about later on, which leads into the final discussion today at the gym. People were trying to understand, figure out what the hell I've been doing. And I made a gentleman's bet that I would deadlift 500 pounds by the end of the year. So we'll see, and I'm going to keep you posted on about how I go about that. Here you go.
I'm not saying that you can't do it. I'm saying orthopedically and statistically, I don't think it's a great idea.
What's not a great idea? Say it on camera.
To train for the full splits and a 500-pound deadlift in the same 5-week cycle.
All right.
When you only deadlift 375.
That's
Okay, so what they don't understand is that I've been training for more than a few weeks now. So it is going to be more like a 10 to 12 week progression. And that I have a history with the deadlift just because recently I only deadlifted 375 in a CrossFit class doesn't mean I can't retrain my nervous system to get back to where I once was. Now, is training the splits in conjunction with deadlift training optimal? I don't know, but I'm taking it day by day and we'll just see. I mean, perhaps training the splits loosens the ligaments in the hips. That's definitely something I want to look out for. But so far, it's really just made me feel stronger and better and recovering better. And again, I may need to do some kind of targeted peaking program at the end of all of this. And during that time, possibly I won't be doing such aggressive stretching. So bets on the table. I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to try and make that happen during easy strength unless it just naturally happens and the bar starts flying. But I do think it's definitely something within reach within the next few months. And I'll put a little pressure on myself at the end of the year and see if we can get the job done. So that's just a sidebar. Follow, like, subscribe, all that stuff to see me on this journey. But for today, just remember, if you're doing easy strength, trust the bar speed. Don't let that bar speed slow down. The strength will come. I promise you. It will come and it will be magnificent. All right, y'all. That's all I got for today. Peace.